Ask any woman who's had children and she'll probably tell you that pregnancy sucks. Morning sickness, stretch marks, sore ankles, and the absolute nightmare that is childbirth, which many women have described as the most excruciatingly painful experience in their life. Normally, if a man said to a pregnant woman, "I know how you feel," she would probably, rightfully, laugh in his face. Unless, of course, that man was William Bennett, a 79-year-old man from Sheerness, Kent, over in the UK. By 1981, he'd experienced his 30th pregnancy. This is the story of the man who kept getting pregnant and the extremely strange condition that caused it. We know what you're probably thinking. 30 pregnancies would be utterly insane for a woman, let alone a man. How is this possible? These are all fair questions. Maybe your mind immediately jumped to Thomas Beatty, the transgender man who reached tabloid stardom in the Guinness Book of World Record fame for being the first public example of a pregnant man. Or for a more modern example, Hayden Cross, another transgender man from the UK, who became the first legal male in the UK to give birth to a child in 2017. But what makes William Bennett's case feel particularly strange is the fact that he's not transgender, and even if he was, at age 79, he'd be decades beyond menopause. William Bennett's strange pregnancies had everything to do with his 4 daughters. Every time one of his daughters got pregnant, William would begin to exhibit the symptoms of pregnancy. Specifically, his belly would begin to swell up and remain in a swollen state until the pregnancy ended. This came as a shock to Mr. Bennett because this hadn't occurred at all when his wife was pregnant with any of his 4 daughters. He didn't, however, miss any of his 30 grandchildren. The Bennett family was apparently breeding like rabbits, and William was feeling all of it directly. And before you say that all of this sounds like an urban legend, these strange symptoms were corroborated by William Bennett's general practitioner, recorded only as Dr. Fitzgerald. According to her tests, during one particularly severe incident where 3 of his daughters were pregnant at the same time, Bennett's abdomen bloated out by an incredible 30 inches. If you're having trouble picturing that, that's actually half an inch bigger than your standard NBA-approved basketball. He'd need to invest in pregnancy pants and some very loose-fitting shirts to live comfortably during that ordeal. While no doctor was ever able to diagnose the concrete medical reason behind what was physically causing William Bennett's stomach to swell, there was actually some medical precedent for the condition he was experiencing. You may have heard the term phantom pregnancy or sympathetic pregnancy thrown around before, or the more arcane medical term Quavad syndrome. While this typically occurs in more expectant fathers than grandfathers-to-be, and cases are rarely as severe and dramatic, cases of phantom pregnancy are actually a lot more common than you'd think. In 2007, researchers at St. George University in London carried out a study into 282 expectant fathers who were experiencing phantom pregnancies. These men had experiences that ran the gamut of pregnancy woes: swollen stomachs, like William Bennett, cramps, sickness, mood swings, pregnancy cravings, depression, insomnia, fatigue, fainting, and back pain. In some studies, doctors have noticed subtle physical changes in the biological makeup of the men experiencing these phantom pregnancies. There were slight hormonal shifts in prolactin, testosterone, estradiol, and cortisol. Professor of Obstetrics and Gynecology Dr. Amos Grunenberg also noted that hormone changes tend to kick in after the first trimester and persist until birth. While these dry scientific descriptions might make it seem like this experience isn't too bad, to actually suffer through this bizarre condition is kind of a nightmare. Why William Bennett had such a severe case of phantom pregnancy, if he actually did have the symptoms, or if he ever even existed at all, we may never truly know. Whether it was down to a particular cocktail of hormones or a really empathetic disposition is a detail lost to history. But one thing is for sure, if you're a man whose wife or girlfriend is trying for a baby, maybe invest in 2 pairs of pregnancy pants just in case. Thanks for watching this episode of the Infographics Show. If you want more pregnancy facts, why not check out what happens before you're born and what happens when you're born. In the meantime, we'll be over here eating some pickles and ice cream.